and we cannot be satisfied by studying the systems at the equilibrium. Okay, we need to study the early stage of the process. We need to understand that because, you know, something like 3 hours would be something like 16 transitions only. Okay, so it's really nothing. So we have to study that. Okay, and okay, and I want to turn to other details. Yeah.
Are you talking about gene or proteins?
Well, I'm talking about some kind of fuzzy biology things that, you know, I'm not trying to be convincing in no way to a biology thing. I'm just trying to argue that studying these kind of systems might be a kind of very abstract view of what biologists do, might do. Okay? I'm not claiming to do biology. I'm really claiming to say, okay, you know, they are studying dynamic networks. Their cells are interacting with each other. They switch state from one state to another, and you know, this looks horribly complicated. So can we find some kind of very, very nice abstraction, okay, in which we could say something. We could say something because biology stuff is way too complicated. It's completely out of reach of any theorems. I mean, I have serious doubt that we will be able to prove anything and understand anything. So let's start first with small things and try to understand small things. So what I'm just saying is that.
What does it mean for a gene to traverse?
Okay. Okay. So this is in morphogenesis. You have some information that travel from. I won't claim it's a gene or whatsoever. It's no, it cannot be a gene, of course, but it's a kind of, you know, a molecule that travels. Okay, that is important, and it's an information that travels from one cell to another. Okay, I'm completely incompetent. Okay, the only thing I know is that this information I got it from somebody very competent. It's comes from the lectures of Prochiance at the Collège de France, and he has studied these kind of things. That means that how information travels from one cell to another. Can we kill things? So especially there is something that was really nice, very instructive for me in these lectures was, but the fact that, you know, the concentration of what I mean by a gene could be anything, okay, a molecule whatsoever, okay, but somehow what is interesting is that one of the things he mentioned was the fact that the concentration of a gene, so replace it by whatever you want, molecule, protein, whatever, okay, is not that important in some cases. Because what he did was just erasing the molecule from the cell, and what he observed is that after a few hours the molecule reappeared, and this molecule was known to be necessary for the next step to take place. And what was his conclusion is that within the gene networks we have so much redundancy inside. It's a very intricate thing that, you know, you need this molecule at this concentration at that time in order to go to the next step. But you don't need this molecule at that concentration to know that you are in that stage of the evolution. And there are some processes that allows you to reconstruct this information. So what is my conclusion from that? Okay, but again, I'm not claiming that I'm doing biology. I'm claiming I'm doing automata. Okay, what I'm saying is that at that point, concentration does not matter so much. There seems to be, okay, there may be some kind of state in which a cell is, okay, and that's what I'm interested in. Okay, you have state, and cells in different states communicate with each other, okay, exchange information, and this exchange of information takes a lot of time. So that's, is it okay with you, or? Okay, I'm not claiming to have any biological ground. Okay, I'm really just giving some kind of data. You know, if you look at some abstraction of this system, then it has slow communication, slow communication rate, and slow switching state. That's the only thing I'm interested in. Okay. So now it has really nothing to do with biology. it's 2D cellular automata. Okay, so you have a cell here. So this one, for instance, we look at it. And how does a cellular automata works? It looks at the state of its neighbors and will switch its state when it is fired. So, for instance, here, he will read the state of its neighbors and then update his state. Okay? So, the question is, what's going on when you do it asynchronously? What's going on if you do not update the cell at the same time, all the cells at the same time? Okay? So, there was a lot of work on that. So, essentially, I will talk about computer science. So maybe the most relevant to what I've said to now is the last thing. Is what the question that we're asked is essentially whether your system, when it is submitted to noise, okay, which is, you can see synchronism like a kind of noise, even if it isn't, okay. So what's going on? Can he retain information more or less? That's the question. So can you retain information in presence of noise? So this made a huge series of papers, especially this one, which is quite controversial about the fact that you can remember things about even in presence of noise. It's a 100 pages paper that nobody understands except this guy, and so that's an open question to read this paper. So you have some interesting fact is that, for instance, deciding whether a cellular automata will be independent of the update history, so the order in which the cells are updated, the state that we get, it's undecidable. Okay, so you cannot decide whether it will matter or not the asynchronicity of the update. So what you can do is try to fight against this asynchronism, okay, and try to design specific automata that will fight against it, okay. So this is not what I will be doing here. And just for the fun, I mentioned it yesterday, is that you can also study random cellular automata, and you have 0-1 laws for universality. But I don't want to enter too much into detail. So let's rather focus on stochastic cellular automata and related ones. So there was a lot of studies of asynchronism, okay, in the past, and they all showed that it changed everything, okay. That's really changed everything, and especially one of the conclusions of the empirical studies of the simulations was that convergence occurs much faster. So if you allow asynchronism, then your automata will reach a stable state much faster than in synchronous updates. Okay. So there were some studies on specific cellular automata that I will mention a little bit in the next slide. So let's look at 1D cellular automata. And basically what we've shown is that if you have, so the automata we will consider here, again, it's nothing to do with biology or proteins, it has two states, okay? The cells have two states, black and white, okay? And you decide, or whether, depending on your neighbors, whether they are black and white, which state you will be next time, okay? When you update. So basically what we discovered is that if you update only one cell at each time step, okay, so at each time step there is one cell that is updated. So you can imagine that it's exactly the same as if every cell had a clock, a random Poisson clock that would, and when it rings, it updates. Okay, the probability that two cells update at the same time is 0. So you have only one cell that updates at each time step. Okay, and that's what we get. So what you observe here is that for some, the synchronous behavior and the asynchronous behavior are the same. Okay, you get the same picture more or less. Okay, it's a little bit distorted, but not too much. Okay, but for most of them, it's completely different. So we have